Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diane Hansen, and I'm the Program Director for the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School program. Thank you for joining us today for what I expect to be a very lively discussion regarding student travel in a COVID world. This 2 p.m. session is being recorded and will be available on the Safe Routes to School website. We will be spending an hour together today, and we'll first start with some speaker and team introductions, followed by a presentation of Safe Routes to School tools, a presentation from the Green Team, and information from MassDOT about the Shared Streets and Spaces program. I'm most excited about our breakout group discussions that will be led by each one of our outreach coordinators. After the breakout sessions, we'll come together as a group, and the coordinators will share their thoughts and ideas from the breakout group. Finally, with time permitting, we will open it up for questions. Here's our speaker panel for today. That's me on the top photo, followed by our outreach supervisor and statewide lead, Emily Budzinkiewicz. Our special guest speaker from the Green Team is Morgan Lehner, and we are also delighted to have Derek Cravette from MassDOT, our Safe Routes to School contract manager. Our outreach team superstars are all shown on the map to the right. This map is available under the Contact Us tab on the Safe Routes website. It is a PDF, and I promise if you zoom in, you can see the city and town names. You can also click to email your outreach coordinator directly. We're pleased to have Pat, Omar, Rachel, Vivian, and Judy here today as well. We just launched a new document for schools and districts showing what we think are the most important activities to do now in advance of back to school. Along the left side are the top 5 measures a school should address now. Along the top are the Safe Routes to School services that support those measures. For example, evaluating your current arrival dismissal process and looking for opportunities to improve safety, avoid modal conflicts, and encourage more walking and biking will make things easier for both a hybrid and a full in-person return to school model. Though I will say that even with schools starting on a full remote, all of these tasks and activities can be done now as well in preparation for when we are back to school in a hybrid or full model. The Safe Routes team can evaluate your current arrival dismissal procedures, make recommendations for improvement. We can also create walking school bus, bike train, and park and walk maps for students who live within a 2-mile biking or half to 1-mile walking area. Rachel is going to post in the chat the PDF of this document for you all to download. Next, I'll turn things over to Emily to dig a little further in these tools for schools. Emily.
Great, thanks, Diane. The first tool I'm going to talk about is about forming a Safe Routes to School task force. A Safe Routes to School task force can streamline student transportation planning and help troubleshoot school and parent concerns by enlisting the expertise of school district, municipal, and parent guardian stakeholders. Stakeholders can include, but are not limited to, teachers, school admin, parents and guardians, municipal staff, which can include the engineering department, the planning department, the health department, etc. Hosted by an individual school or at a district level, a Safe Routes to School task force can assist with engineering, communication and encouragement, education, regulatory and informational signage, as well as policy. We highly encourage each district and school to pull together a task force to serve as a central planning source for all Safe Routes to School program needs. An action item that you can take now would be to begin brainstorming members of your community who should be a part of your task force. A clear and well-communicated arrival dismissal plan that includes all forms of student transportation is key for ensuring that the school zone is as safe as possible. The Safe Routes to School program can create or review existing arrival dismissal procedures and suggest changes to encourage preferred forms of student transportation, ensure the use of proper signage, and work to help mitigate any potential modal conflicts. Safe Routes to School can also guide communication strategies for sharing these procedures with parents and guardians, as well as school staff. If your school is looking for a place to start, we are happy to share an example of an arrival dismissal procedure of another school in a comparable school environment. We can support you today as you plan your arrival dismissal procedures for this school year. Once your procedures are complete, we recommend posting them to your school website as an easy point of reference for parents, guardians, and other members of your community. Schools may experience an increase in family vehicle traffic, which poses a safety risk for everyone on and around the school campus. Traffic concerns can be mitigated by examining infrastructure and encouraging active transportation options. The program offers parent-guardian travel surveys to collect data about school travel modes, walking and biking route mapping to identify safe walking school bus, bike train, and park walk and roll locations, as well as neighborhood walk, bike, and audits to assess infrastructure conditions. Please communicate your mapping needs with your school outreach coordinator today. Safe Routes to School walking and biking assessments focus specifically on school property as well as surrounding neighborhoods by identifying potential barriers students may encounter as they walk and bike to school. Each walk assessment can include a group of community and school stakeholders who can observe and submit feedback to Safe Routes to School staff, who in turn create a custom walk and bike assessment report to be used by the school and municipality. These walk assessments can be done both virtually as well as in a socially distanced manner. Something you can do today would be to investigate whether or not a Safe Routes to School walk or bike audit has been done in your community. If you find a walking and biking audit has not been completed in your community or it has been a while, please reach out to your outreach coordinator so an assessment may be scheduled. Safe Routes to School anticipates less opportunities to offer in-person programming over the next school year. However, the program provides many sustainable and flexible options to start or maintain a safety training program. Professional development sessions for health and wellness faculty in concert with adoption of pedestrian and bicycle curriculum support ongoing safety education. Remote learning materials for instructions and students for instruction through a combination of virtual training sessions, videos, lesson plans, and printed materials. The education page of our website also includes our parent and driver education resources, bicycle and pedestrian themed curriculum for 6th grade that meets the STEM, ELA, and social studies guidelines. Many of our resources are available in multiple languages. Considering scheduling professional development sessions for any of our curriculum or other educational resources. Here are some of our educational tools. The first tool is our 20-minute pre-recorded animated bike safety video. This video covers basic bike safety skills your students should be made familiar with prior to riding their bicycle. The second tool is our new Safe Routes to School trivia game. This trivia game is a fun and interactive way for students to be quizzed on their safety knowledge. This tool is currently available upon request and will be on our website shortly. The third tool is live bike safety sessions with a masked bike instructor. Following our successful summer virtual bike safety sessions, we are pleased to be offering virtual bike safety education to our school and alliance partners for this school year. These sessions are completely customizable. Your outreach coordinator can help you coordinate a virtual bike safety session that works best for your school community. A strong active transportation program can help lessen family vehicle traffic. The program encourages schools to celebrate Massachusetts' 3 annual flagship events: International Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day, which is October 7th, Winter Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day, which is February 3rd, and Massachusetts Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day, which is on May 5th. Make sure that these important dates are added to your school calendar to ensure proper planning. Safe Routes to School can assist in the formation of organized walking and biking groups, provide resources such as the walking school bus and bike train guides, as well as our walking school bus kit, which is available upon request. A park walk and roll program is a great way to involve families before and after school, and to foster a sense of community while practicing safe walking, biking, and rolling habits. A park walk and roll program broadens the congestion radius around a school by encouraging less vehicles entering school campus. Safe Routes to School can help design a park walk and roll program that best fits the school's unique needs. Begin brainstorming and contacting owners of potential park walk and roll locations. And now I will turn our presentation over to Morgan Lehner of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection's Green Team, who's going to take us through some of her program's idle reduction resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for that introduction, Emily. Like she said, my name is Morgan Lehner, and I am a program specialist with the Green Team. The Green Team is a program funded by the Mass DEP and administered by the Center for Ecotechnology, which is an environmental nonprofit that helps people and businesses save energy and reduce waste. For those who aren't familiar, the Green Team is a free environmental interactive education program that empowers both students and teachers to help the environment in a number of different ways through waste reduction, recycling, pollution prevention, energy conservation, and many other topics. Any K through 12 school in Massachusetts is eligible to participate in the program, whether you're a public school, private school, charter school, and we like to think that the Green Team serves as like an umbrella for schools, both who already have their own green teams, maybe it's a club or a class, as well as for those who don't and are just looking to get started, because the resources that we've developed and that Green Team members have access to are intended to be used for any school across the state. And I'll go into a couple of those resources in a minute. As far as who can register, we encourage administrators, parent volunteers, and teachers to register for the Green Team. The program is especially great for teachers in particular because it's designed to easily incorporate environmental activities into the classroom. Last year we had almost 350 schools and over 110,000 students participate in the Green Team, which is absolutely amazing. And we're starting to get some registrations for the 2021 school year. So make sure that you or someone from your school has re-registered. Next slide. So on the slide, you can see a couple of program highlights. Joining the Green Team really does empower the students themselves to help the environment. It builds team spirit, and for teachers who are sharing what they're doing with us, they can win awards for their classes. The lesson plans and activities that we've developed also are aligned with state curriculum standards, so they're using the activities to teach skills on the standardized tests. And then our website, which you can see at the top of the page, has a number of additional compiled resources on a bunch of different topics. We have an entire section on our links page dedicated to clean air organizations and associations. And we have other helpful things like information on school fundraiser ideas and grants and professional development things for teachers and administrators. And that's all on our website and in our monthly newsletter. And we're also always spotlighting our schools as well. So if you're doing something cool, whether it's with regards to idle reduction or another environmental activity, you can let us know and we can spotlight it. Next. So one of the ways that our program can support your school's Safe Routes to Schools program and anti-idling campaigns is by requesting completely free idle reduction materials. So after you're registered for this school year, you fill out a form, indicate that you have administrative approval, and you can request different materials. And you can see some of those images on the slide. We have pledge cards, bumper stickers, windshield decals, informational palm cards, and what I think are probably our most popular are these metal signs. You can see one of the sign examples on the right side of the page, and we have another one as well. In the past 3 years, we've had almost 50 schools across the state receive idle reduction materials, and a lot of these schools are in safe routes districts or schools. So schools are using Green Team idle reduction materials in their carpool lanes, in their parking lots, with their school buses and more. And the materials can be used whatever way you want, whether it's part of a one-time event, an ongoing campaign, working with the parents, working with school-owned vehicles, working with teachers. It's really about whatever your students are passionate about, what your school is passionate about. We're there to help support you in any way we can. Next slide. And so with that, our information is up on the slide here. We'd love to have your school participate in the Green Team. Please do reach out if you have any questions, and thank you again for having me.
Thanks, Morgan. It's really great to hear about all the Green Team resources available to schools, especially because we just know that family vehicle traffic is going to increase, and with that comes a lot of idling. So really important to get those resources out to the schools. So next, I'd like to invite Derek Cravat to talk about the MassDOT Shared Streets and Spaces program. Derek?
Yeah, thanks, Diane. So yes, my name is Derek Cravat. I am with Mass DOT's Office of Transportation Planning. As Diane mentioned, MassDOT has recently launched a new grant program. It's called Shared Streets and Spaces. The program was created directly in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the project's funded through this programming to make streets and shared public spaces as safe as possible. So as folks get out there to walk and bike and potentially visit local businesses again, this program is intended to make those sorts of trips as safe as possible and allowing our infrastructure to enable things like social distancing. So in addition to the services that the Safe Routes team and the Green team offers, this grant program is another tool in the toolbox your communities have when it comes to responding to the pandemic through encouraging clean air and active transportation. So I'm excited to talk a little more about it and make you aware of the program. So it's geared towards smaller projects ranging from $5,000 to $300,000 per project. Again, because it is directly in response to COVID, it's supposed to sort of be about really quick implementation projects. This could include sort of temporary sidewalk expansions, on-street parking spaces and off-street parking spaces being turned into things like parklets or other sorts of spaces besides just being used for parking. So it's really about reimagining sort of our public space. Again, it could be temporary. These could be pilot projects with the intention of being made permanent. So if your community has projects like sidewalk extensions or bike lanes in mind for something that you'd like to see as a permanent change, this could be a perfect opportunity to pilot something like that in school zones. Anything in school zones are of course eligible, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. $5 million is the total amount of funding available for the program. Decisions on grant applications are being made on a rolling basis. So far, $3.8 million of funding has been awarded to 50 projects in 44 different municipalities. 68% of the awards so far have been in environmental justice communities, so that's a really important part of the program, especially given the disproportionate impact COVID has had in those communities. But the program is open until September 29th, so if your community has not yet applied, or if you've submitted an application but would like to resubmit for consideration, you can do so until September 29th. So the bottom of the slide here just has kind of three areas where bonus points or preference will be given to applications. Like I mentioned, quick launch, quick build. There's a real emphasis on turning these projects around quickly. So if projects can be shown to be operational within 15 to 30 days of the award, they'll receive some preference. Equity, like I mentioned, is a huge consideration. So in environmental justice zones, projects in those areas will receive extra points. And then piloting for permanence. So if the project can be made permanent, if it's part of the long-term vision that the community has, or if it can be demonstrated that it will go just beyond a temporary improvement, that will also be given some consideration as well. So next slide. So this just shows the kind of 4 overarching goal areas of the Shared Streets and Spaces program. Of course, Safe Routes to School being a big one. A lot of the projects funded so far do include Safe Routes to School elements. So this could include signage or crosswalks in school zones, delineated areas for safe child drop-off and pickup, neighborhood streets that lead directly to schools, that include traffic calming measures, making it safer for folks to walk and bike to school. All of these types of projects are eligible under the program, so we'd encourage folks to look into that as part of an application if you are going to make one. Shared streets and spaces, another kind of emphasis area of the program. This could include traffic calming measures, protected bike lanes, accessibility, upgrades to curb ramps or other facilities to support walking and biking in the shared spaces, outdoor dining and commerce. So a lot of projects are popping up in kind of downtown or commercial districts, calming roadways, again, kind of repurposing parking spaces now being used to sort of host things like outdoor seating areas for restaurants and things like that, all funded through the program. And then the final kind of goal area being better buses. This could include things like dedicated bus lanes, safer bus stops, that provide space for more social distancing, and transit signal priority. Those are all eligible expenses under this program. So I'd encourage everyone to check out the awards that have been made so far. you can do so at the link below. You can see project descriptions of all the projects that have been funded. You can also find out a lot more about the program itself and about what resources it offers and technical assistance that's available through the program. So I encourage everyone to check out the program at that link, and I'm happy to answer any questions during the Q&A. So thanks, Dan.
Thank you all again for joining us. I am going to allow, participants to unmute themselves, but we are going to have the outreach coordinators share for 2 to 3 minutes what came out of their group. And I'm going to just go straight down the list and start with Emily.
Great. All right, so we had some good discussion about how with the guidance kind of ever changing and how not all the decisions have been made yet, how it is kind of difficult to plan when there is so much unknown. There were also questions about inclement weather. So whether that be rain, whether that be snow, how do we plan with still the guidance that's in place from the Department of Education? How do we plan all these active transportation modes with the crazy New England weather that we have? It could be beautiful in the morning and it could be snowing in the afternoon. So how do we kind of plan for that? There were some conversations about how guidance from within the school district's physicians, some don't want things like park and walks, but then there are people within the school district themselves as well that do want to focus more on active transportation. So kind of managing conflicting points of view within your school district. But that was something that people—
Did you solve that argument?
We did not solve that, but it was a topic of conversation. Sounds like the city of Newburyport is doing a lot of great infrastructure improvements, so that's great to hear. And then we also talked about how with remote learning and the middle school age, we're seeing a lot, the parents on the call were talking about how they've seen some more independence in their kids, so kids being out on their bikes, kind of things like that. And with having to self-direct a lot of their remote learning opportunities, that has also kind of fostered some independence, but in other ways it's also kind of made them a little bit less independent. So
I like to hear some optimism come out of that, saying that there's some increased independence. Very good. Thanks, Emily. I am going to move on to Judy. Judy, can you unmute yourself and share some thoughts from your group?
So good morning. So I had a very small group and like-minded folks from actually an architectural firm in the MSBA, so lucky me. But then we were joined by an SOO officer from Hadley and a school principal from Lexington. So on the positive note, let's make some lemonade out of lemons. What are the lessons we've learned from COVID? These are the good things that we can go forward with. Take some of these temporary changes, maybe get some stronger legs on them for future changes and turn them into improvements. And just how it's affecting the educational delivery and the teaching and learning changes. So we ended up talking a lot about policy and what's coming down the pike from the Safe Routes family. And that's as far as we got. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks, Judy. I'm going to go to Rachel now. Rachel, if you can unmute and share your thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a great conversation. We had a great variety of folks in the meeting. The big thing is, making sure that the schools can handle like that influx of cars, because right now they just don't. So maybe the more rural schools, the roadways aren't prepared for the amount of parent traffic that might be coming up. So the use of park and walks were looked at positively. But the issue came up with, who's going to not necessarily enforce the park and walks, but are students going to be socially distant on their walk to school? Are they going to be wearing masks? So it's sort of who is going to kind of that trickle down enforcement part. But people were very interested in the concept of a park and walk to just kind of broaden that congestion radius, like we said in the presentation. And then for like some key stakeholders, there's some great support from school resource officers, there's safety committees, the fire chiefs. So there's been, like I said, a lot of support from the municipal side as well as the school side to make sure that students are getting to and from school safely.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. We are going to go next to Omar. Omar, if you can unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. I had a small group as well. I had reps from Brentham, Lawrence, and Taunton. We just talked about their individual needs and their marketing efforts and what the infrastructure was like for their towns. And each town acknowledges that they are going to be needing to make changes to their current transportation models, and they're eager and ready to make these moves. So I'm excited to hear that.
Was communication going to be an issue for these communities?
No, each seems to have their marketing efforts pretty down. Some use Facebook, some have other emailing and proprietary methods to distribute these communications to the families.
Okay. One of the things that we learned from the Safe Routes to School or the Safe Routes National Partnership is absolutely the Facebook parent groups, Nextdoor, Google Nextdoor. They're great communication tools for schools and for districts if you can get on those groups. So thanks, Omar. Vivian, if you could unmute and share your thoughts.
All right, so I had about 5 folks in the group, and they were varied in their involvement with Safe Routes to School, and even we had one person from a school in Boston that hasn't even actually gone to the school because she just started working. So it was wonderful to have the experience and then also the encouragement to let folks that are just coming on board be able to hear from other folks. So communication with parents and guardians, it was somewhat varied. Some of them are working with their family liaisons, and they send out like the e-blast when it comes to any of our events and things like that. Others are much more connected within their municipality. So Jen from Safe Routes to School in Newton shared with us that if you can get onto the mayor's newsletter, do it, because that is widely read from the community. It's also a great way to get folks that are not necessarily related to the schools to know about flagship days and things like that, so you can bring more people into the game. So if you have the ability to do that, but the main takeaway from that was you have to use varied ways to communicate because people get information in very different ways. So it can't just be Facebook, it can't just be Twitter, it has to be a variety. Every way that you can, go for it. And then the challenges on planning for the travel mode shift, we have some folks that work in the transportation departments and haven't necessarily started working on how do we start preparing families to start making that change. And I said to them, that's not just within schools, that's throughout all communities to kind of make that mode shift. But that's why we're here. So we've got a lot of different tools that we can work with to help with that. And then when it comes to key stakeholders, like the folks in Newton had a lot of them, working with the Health and Human Services, just different areas that are outside. One of the things that I like to try to encourage folks is get in touch with your ped and bike committees that you have in your communities. Bring them on board. They're already drinking the Kool-Aid, so it's just time for them to come on in and share what they know about what's going on and how they're getting more people in their neighborhoods and communities to get on. So the Weymouth, the superintendent sends out a Sunday communication that's placed on the website, but they also send it out to the families because at the beginning of the school year, they do ask, how is it that you want us to communicate with you? So you have to figure out what your communication method is going to be and how it's going to work best. And of course, that it's provided in the multiple languages that your families also speak. So I think that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you, Vivian. Pro tip, get on the mayor's letter. Yes. Okay. And Pat, if you can unmute yourself and share what your group discussed.
Sure. So we had a nice cross-Commonwealth coalition of people from both Arlington, from Springfield. We had myself, who's in the Boston area, and then we had a MassDOT representative. And I think we would echo a lot of the things that have already been spoken about, like in our post-group session. But I think one interesting stakeholder that came up in our group that I haven't heard anyone mention yet is one of our most important stakeholders is the student themselves. I think Michelle, who is a walking school bus leader for a school in Springfield was mentioning that one of the best ways to drum up excitement and interest in walking is to get the students really excited about walking and such. And that might change in a digital world where we can't physically hand students some shoelaces or we can't have posters up, but an opportunity, if you can find a way to get the students really excited to walk or have the students want to walk, sometimes they might either annoy their parents enough to get them to participate or might end up selling the idea of walking to their parents better than any of us could sell the idea of walking to their parents. So I think reminding ourselves that, yes, we all exist to help improve the lives of students, but that the students also want to improve lives of their fellow students and that they are an important stakeholder include. So I think that's something we would add. And then I think one of the things that came up too is we found that one of the most, or like, while there's a variety of effective ways to communicate, one of the challenges right now is when everyone's getting a billion emails about a billion different things, sometimes a letter home might still be a more effective way to communicate with someone, especially early in the year. We were talking about how engaging parents in that first month when habits are being formed is a lot more likely to produce a positive outcome than in the middle of the year where parents might be so much in their rhythm and they might not be prepared to change anything. So I think communicate early and often, and then remind ourselves that students are both people we serve, but also a stakeholder in and of themselves. And so I think that was a really interesting point that we took from our group.
Thanks, Pat. I do think one of the statements you said about this is the best time to change a habit. Honestly, when we're in a situation where everything is up in the air, we can really explore and see what's going to work and pilot. And, you know, if it doesn't work, you know, great, but let's try something. So I think that's a great place to sort of end this and also go into our Q&A. So Leon's going to be monitoring the chat. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll see if we can get to them. So Leon, are you off? Are you on mic, I should say?
Yes, I am on mic.
Okay, great. So any questions that we need to address right now?
Not yet, but I'm watching it.
Okay. We have a shout out to Emily's group. Let's see, shout out to Emily. Oh, Emily in my group. Okay, she's a high school student working it. Very nice. Okay. I also want to say too that if you feel like you'd like to come back for discussion, maybe with a different group, we do have a 2 p.m. session, and I know we said register for only one, but I think seeing just how diverse the conversations were, I would love to see if any of you want to come back for discussion. You could probably join the call around 2:20, and we'll be going into our breakout rooms, and I'll just assign you to another breakout. So you're welcome to register for the 2 p.m. and join a breakout group if you'd like.
So we have one comment in the chat. I think some of you may have seen it already, but a person like that, a great time to change and explore and monitor if change to needed to the change. So that's one. We have a question. How do you get parents and students to walk in the winter?
Diane, I'm happy to answer that question.
Sorry, Pat, please do. I had myself
Sure.
muted.
Oh, no
Pat,
problem.
Leon and I are going to mute ourselves.
So I saw Robin's question about having parents and students walk in the winter, and as the representative for the Berkshires, I feel like it's only natural that I discuss snow. I think, Robin, a good way to address winter walking, which is definitely an opportunity for people to walk, is it's important early on in the fall to develop a relationship with your DPW in your community. And I think some things you can do early is share with them if there's walking school bus routes that you know exist in your community, or if there's routes you're in the process of forming. The earlier you pass those routes on to your DPW and mention, hey, when you're planning how you're going to remove snow in the community, these are streets that are highly trafficked by students. If you're going to prioritize streets for snow removal, that's an area we'd like you to focus on. So I think getting your DPW, and I say Department of Public Works for those who aren't as fluent in government speak, but getting your Department of Public Works involved early, or whoever is responsible for maintaining sidewalks in your community, is a great way to anticipate walking in the winter. Beyond that, you could always maybe even do a mailing, or if you have a really active parent group, have them do like a door knocking campaign or something like that. It might be harder in a COVID world where you don't want to engage actively, but doing some sort of communication to your neighborhoods where there's students walking is a really helpful way to just inform people about what's going on when the snow starts to fall. So I hope that at least gave you a little more insight into that question.
Thanks, Pat. Another thing here says from Sharon, love the idea of engaging young students. Any ideas for how to engage young students who don't use social media yet? Well, I'm actually going to say Vivian has been spectacular with this in setting up these Zoom bike safety sessions with our trainers. The more that we can get the safety education for pedestrian and bike safety into the classrooms, whether it be Zoom or however the districts are doing it, we can use that opportunity to get them excited. And Vivian, I don't know if you want to talk about maybe quickly the success you've had with some of that.
Well, I have to give a shout out to Jen Martin, who's at the Newton Safe Routes to School program. I had some experience doing an in-person session at a library last year, and so we just kind of transitioned that to a virtual setting. A lot of the libraries and communities had already been doing like the read alouds and things, so they were already picking up the interest from the young folks in their communities. So just by saying, hey, why don't we do some bike safety? We all have seen that families are out walking and biking more, so let's jump on that opportunity. And we always want to ask them, how are you planning on biking to school, when we start up again? So last night we had a session, it turned out probably like 72 little faces on all of the screens, 36 that had signed up, but we encouraged them to bring their siblings and their parents. So, call out to your outreach coordinator if you want us to come to the library near you.
Thank you, Vivian. Next one has Judy written all over it. It said, will social distancing affect how a walking school bus is set up? So Judy, do you want to talk a little bit about sidewalk etiquette and what we're trying to talk about for walking school buses and park and walks?
My pleasure. So the Safe Routes team does have a COVID piece coming out soon. It's still being vetted.
It's out. It's on. It's in. Yes.
It's corrected. Social distancing. So part of the things that we try to instruct during pedestrian safety is, just being. We share the sidewalk. Everyone shares the sidewalk. So part of the social distancing is, we all need to understand what it is, explaining what 6 feet is, whether it's a pool noodle, a person walking a dog on a leash, or it's someone doing a cartwheel, something to try to get in the students' minds at an age-appropriate level what 6 feet might be. Past that, it is, understanding that we share the sidewalk. So what do you do if you come across people and you can't really social distance? So can you walk up on the grass or whatever property is abutting the sidewalk? Can you safely cross the street so you don't have to? And obviously this is if everyone doesn't want to put a mask on. So I think that's it.
Thanks, Judy. So from Laura Hansen, what do people think of a Safe Routes student coloring drawing contest for families? So Laura, thank you for this great transition into a couple things. One, our yard sign contest that we have in the spring is a great opportunity for folks to to draw and be creative, and we usually pick a theme each year, and we just are having our yard sign winners. The signs are being delivered today actually in the office, so we're excited about that from this past year. But also I believe the team created Emily created a bingo sheet and a sneaker coloring kit. There is, and we use that for our flagship days. So in May we did Massachusetts Walk, Bike and Roll Day, and that was done virtually. So we did have some kids doing some colorful signs and fun stuff to kind of get folks excited. So we definitely are going to continue with that, Laura, and probably just have even more excitement and more creativity from our students as we go into this year. So thank you. We have one thing from Michelle here in Springfield. Use one of our local radio stations to announce our walking school bus program. Yay, I love that. And ask residents to make sure they clear the snow. Fantastic. That's a great example. And we are at just 11 o'clock, and I want to thank you all so much for joining us. So let me see, I think I have everyone back in the room. Leon, are you able to go ahead and just make sure everyone is back to muted? Actually, you know what? We're going to keep that open because I want to hear from the outreach coordinators. If everyone other than our outreach coordinators could mute themselves, that would be great. So thank you all so much for coming back in. We had one special breakout group between Phil and I because we could not get.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Yes. So sorry I couldn't get into some of your rooms, but Phil and I were having a chat. So we are going to start with Emily. Let me go into the next slide, actually. And Emily, can you please share? We have about 2 minutes each. Share what came out of your breakout group.
Great. So we had a good mix of people from Arlington, Newton, Palmer, Medford, and then a couple larger organizations. So some ways that they've been communicating with parents has been through Facebook groups, through parent newsletters, also through the mayor's newsletter, and then people are trying to get into the district newsletters through the superintendent. Some challenges in planning is I talked about kind of some of the fears parents have just surrounding COVID, but also fears surrounding is this area safe to walk, especially if they're used to having a bus or used to a different mode of transportation. We talked about walking school buses and how they're going to look different. One of the strategies we talked about was kind of treating walking school buses and kind of like filtering kids out onto a main road that you know, or a road that you know has a sidewalk or a large enough shoulder, and kind of having it be more of a flow instead of it just being you're stopping and congregating and then moving on the way a normal walking school bus would happen. So I thought that was that's a great suggestion. And then for stakeholders, we talked about snow and inclement weather and how just having really clear expectations and really clearly communicating with your municipal departments is going to be key to making sure that active transportation can continue all 4 seasons.
Great. Thank you, Emily. We're going to go next to Judy. Judy, if you could unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. We had a very nice conversation. We had the director for the local bus service in the Merrimack Valley area. We had school bus director from the Randolph community. We had representatives working with the Haverhill school systems and with Lawrence. So a little here and there. Communication, backpack flyers worked in some communities along with a robocall, what I call robocall blast calls. It's when the community sends out an automated message. Those are used successful in some communities. Others do some parent surveys. Others do work with trying to engage a parent liaison who is bilingual for every school. So just as a further outreach. And some just rely on the website along with social media. So a little bit of a range there. Mm-hmm. In terms of challenges, people talked about different things, but it came back to parent traffic. The age old. Basically, we touched upon how school campuses and roads really aren't designed for the type of traffic, the volume that we see now, and just some of the unintended consequences that come mm-hmm. from that. And one interesting point, thought because of all the traffic, it might be a little safer driving and allowing others to take the bus only because of the limited seating. So trying to be thoughtful of your neighbors in that vein. So
thanks, Judy. Rachel, if you could unmute yourself and share your discussion.
Awesome. Well, we had a great conversation. It was a group of us ladies from around my territory, one from Holliston, one from Townsend, and one from Fitchburg. And we got to gabbing so much that we didn't even make it to question 3. So there was a pretty good consensus as far as communication strategies. Social media has been a big one, using Facebook, the school website, emails, all that. Stuff that seems to be a common theme. But then with regards to question 2, I think park and walks are really going to be a big solution for a lot of these communities because there's going to be a dramatic increase in parent traffic for Fitchburg and for Holliston and Townsend. So it's just, it's a good way to sort of try and reduce that or broaden that congestion radius. But Tina also from Holliston mentioned that their signs and lines crosswalk was being used by some folks on the baseball team. They used that crosswalk and she almost wanted to take a picture but stopped herself. So that was great to see that this crosswalk is being used and that it's heavily traveled right now during these unprecedented times. But the last thing is the idea of the front door priority, for walkers and bikers. I think that was something that really piqued people's interest. So those are sort of the main points, but definitely an increase in parent traffic and trying to mitigate that.
Great, thank you, Rachel. Omar, what did your group have to say?
Coordinator from SRTS, and we talked about the marketing strategies that they use, which kind of parallels the same strategies that everyone else is doing. Social media, robocalls, emails. As far as challenges, the challenges that were common that came up were the logistics in bus planning and just the patterns, whether it be the weather patterns. A lot of parents don't want to have their kid get wet or snowed on, so that's one of the main reasons that they want to drive. So we're trying to discourage that, but parents want to be good parents to not have their kid get wet. So that's one of the challenges that we have. Another difficulty that came about was the before and after school programs that are popular in a lot of schools, and how they're going to manage that traffic in addition to the regular school traffic. Also, another difficulty is schools that are in proximity to other schools. For example, Jefferson shares a footprint with the middle school. So that's another variable that they have to be mindful of is, schools that share a campus. And also they don't have a crossing guard. So that's another monkey wrench in the equation. So, there's a lot of variables that require, outside of the box thinking. And that's why I encourage you guys to reach out to us so that we can think outside the box together. Key stakeholders, there's different resources in each town that get leveraged. I know that Franklin has reached out to the Parks and Recs department. They have a good working relationship with the police department as well, as does Agawam, which is pretty heavily trafficked town. So they're mindful of the many different variables that they have to, mitigate. So that's what we're gonna work on resolving.
Great. Thanks, Omar. I think all of us at Safe Routes chuckle when we hear that parents don't want to get their kids wet, because it's parents who don't want to get wet. The kids are totally fine. So the adage is that, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing choices. So we always bring that up as a counter argument to that. Kids love being out in the rain and the snow. It's just the parents. So we also have to change the hearts and minds of the parents. Or the parents and the guardians. Vivian, up next, please.
All right, and to follow up with what Diane said, as a person that finally bought some rain pants after Omar, my colleague, kept telling me, riding your bicycle in the rain in the winter is fine. You just have to have the right clothes. So I was really excited. I had a group of newbies, pretty much. Everyone that was in the group is somewhat new to Safe Routes to School. We had one principal from Norwood. We had two folks from Dedham, somebody from Brockton, a community partner from Somerville, and also, like, from this morning, we had a high school student from Needham that are really working big to make their iWalk in October a big event. So a lot of what we did was kind of get to know each other and coming to the reality that it takes a whole community and all the different folks, all the different stakeholders, not just the school principals, to be able to work together. But I actually wanted to go and did ask the principal a little bit more, since he's more closely connected to what we're doing with the students in the schools. But a lot of the information comes out from the central office, and then each of the school campuses takes it and makes it unique and sends it out in whatever social media format they have. They also have a media partner now that they're working with, surveys, a lot of the same things that we've heard. Walk Boston and the Dedham Cycling Club were both part of my group. So showing how the folks that are already involved in the movement, how you can work a little bit more closely with them so we don't have to reinvent everything from the beginning. I know that we're kind of slow on time, so I think I'm gonna leave it at that.
Thank you, Vivian. Pat, what can you share?
Sure. So I think our conversation would echo a lot of the other conversations that seem to have taken place in the other groups. I think some of the things that we would add, and it seemed like the primary stakeholder in our group, which was composed of representatives from school districts across the Commonwealth. We had someone from Hopkinton, we had someone from Sturbridge, and someone from North Adams. And the common thing seemed to be, it's really important to have the parents involved. I think I have a former professor that was in the audience who always taught us that planning is a community-led process. And I think planning for student transportation definitely is a community-led process.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding ways to engage the parents in different ways was something that parents seem to be the most important stakeholder. And so we've used different, whether it was robocalls or whether it was emails or whether it was letters. The outreach coordinator for North Adams actually stated that she found sometimes the best way is to actually just call the individual parent, not necessarily calling every entire parent in the district, though Emily goes above and beyond, so maybe she did. And I think what she said is sometimes just a targeted call really gets that message across. And then one thing we talked about too, related to that, was that, and this came up more earlier, is that students are also a very important stakeholder in this. And so if you want to encourage walking in your community, if the students thinks walking is cool, they'll bug their parents enough to get to walk. And I think that was something that also came up. The last thing I think I'll mention is the value of an arrival dismissal report. I think this answers question number 2 specifically of how can you address some of these challenges, and evaluating your arrival dismissal this fall was something that we thought was important. Because once these plans that all of us have worked so hard to create get put in place, there's going to need to be some tweaking. And additionally to that, plans change. So what might work in the fall might not work in the winter. And so having a chance just to evaluate it was something that we thought was particularly valuable. I think that's pretty much it as far as our group goes.
Thanks, Pat. I'm going to talk really quickly about my personal breakout room with Phil, who is a bike advocate for the town of Concord. He's on the Concord Bicycling Committee. And we really looked at questions 2 and 3, which is what challenges is he having? Well, they have presented to the 3 grade schools and to the superintendent in Concord, and they realized that absolutely they're going to have an issue with vehicle traffic, and they're going to have an issue with socially distancing on the bus. So Phil is going to propose to the superintendent and to the 3 elementary school principals that he and his group can put together an active transportation plan for them with help from us. So this is really about engaging your stakeholders, using other people, using a task force, using the folks around you to help you. So thank you, Phil, for that conversation. And I'm sure you and Rachel will have some great conversations after that. So we're going to go very quickly into Q&A. If you have a question, put it in the chat. We'll try and get to it. Let's see. I don't see any right now. Okay. Any questions? Don't be shy. You can chat them in. And I'll go into the next slide too while everyone's deciding to come up with their fantastic question, to say that the best way to get a hold of us is obviously by talking to your outreach coordinator, but also learn about the latest and greatest from our social media accounts. So Vivian is going to be pasting all 4 links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn into the chat so that you can like us and follow us on at least one of these. Like to see our numbers go up. This is the best way for us to communicate. And after, let's see, that helped. We have a few questions now. Okay. Love some good examples of schools' arrival dismissal plans under COVID as they are made public. So Jen, awesome. I know that we can get those to you as they come out. Absolutely. And we always like to get permission from our schools. As soon as they're public, we can share those links. Are there tips for active transportation for pre-K? Great question. We do K through 8. So I don't know if anyone specifically wants to address that from our group. Pretty similar to what our kindergartners are. Obviously, they need support from parents, guardians, and need to be in a group. Typically, we might see that with other family members as well. But let me come back to that if I have time, since we do K through 8. Sorry, Pat, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say it involves a little bit of thinking as a team, but a very, very, very stripped down pedestrian safety thing is an option. It might be like a 5-minute lesson because the attention span of a pre-K child is very,
yes.
But I think a very, very, very stripped down pedestrian safety lesson is a great opportunity.
That's great. Thank you, Pat. So Judy, this is one for you. If parents want to volunteer to lead walking school buses, do they get queried before that can happen?
Great question. And as luck would have it, in every district, it's different. Some do, some don't. If it's run through a PTA, oftentimes they will, but quite honestly, it's school to school. And even some schools within a district make up their own mind too. There doesn't seem to be any uniformity in that that topic.
Okay, thank you.
More specific.
No, thank you. Also, examples of walking school bus plans from districts that are further along would be helpful. So yes, if we get permission to share any walking school bus maps, a lot of times, it has origin, student origin information, and so sometimes schools won't share that. Other times they will share bus stop. We'll say walking school bus stops. So yes, we can absolutely share that if you reach out to your outreach coordinator. And then, will SRTS have guidance on mask wearing, distancing, or should we reach out to local health department? Jen, great question. We are not health experts. We are Safe Routes to School experts. So we absolutely want you to reach out to your local health departments. But we do encourage teaching sidewalk etiquette and learning what Judy actually talked about this on the last breakout session. Judy, do you want to talk about some of the tips you have for sidewalk etiquette and learning the 6 feet rule?
Okay, real quick, guys. It's thinking at the level of that grade level. So whether 6 feet be a pool noodle, whether it be a dog on a leash or a cartwheel, it has to be something where the kids can relate to. And again, wearing their mask properly, covering the nose to the chin. And lastly, sidewalk etiquette. We try to teach the kids during pedestrian safety that we share the sidewalk with everyone. We're not the only ones who are on it. That being said, if you come across another person or another group of people or something, we try to social distance. And so if you can't stay on the sidewalk everyone wearing their mask, or you rather take the extra step to put some distance along with your mask between you and the other group, we suggest that you walk, if possible, on the side of the sidewalk, if it's like in a grass area or a little bit off the sidewalk property, or you can cross the street if it's a safe place to do so.
Thank you, Judy. Danielle, I'm going to just go to Phil for a second. In terms of requiring pre-K parents to drop off, we can talk offline about that and maybe give you some tips for that. Phil, you were talking about the I think the form to join as a Safe Routes partner. So number of students, that just means how many are enrolled in each school. Our relationship with schools is at the school level. So each partner is a school partner. And then qualifications for a crossing guard. So in each district or municipality, crossing guards are run differently. So sometimes they come from the police department, sometimes they're from a different organization. But we do have some Massachusetts crossing guard training that has been blessed by MassDOT that helps to really give consistency for training. And that was something that didn't exist prior to 2 years ago. That is on our website under education. Actually, it's under engagement, I believe. So you could take a look at those. I think that's just a statement.
Diane, in the parent survey, that's under the evaluation page.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, you can get a copy of the parent survey on the evaluation page and also click on the link. I think we are just about out of time right now. If we did not get to your question, we'll follow up with you personally. Thank you so much. We will have this session, or the session is recorded, so I think we'll either post both or one, or pick the best parts of both sessions and post them up online, and we'll let you all know when that's available. Thank you and have a great rest of your week.